Welcome back to the Chit Chat Series, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining in. We were having a discussion about my dancing skills, and Dezi just very subtly told me like you can't dance because of your TikToks.
That is not what I said. I said I did not know what to expect coming from what I know about you with your TikTok dancing skills.
So
you
you're
crushed it
saying
at
that
your
my
wedding.
TikTok dancing skills are not good?
I mean, I've seen you with Hispanic
And the
music, and you like the
silence speaks for
typical
itself.
white
So
girl.
let's be
You
honest.
do like the
I don't know how
wide
to
hips,
do.
like you're hula
I don't know
hooping,
how
like
to
you're not
do
doing any step
dances.
movement.
I don't know how to do dances like those like choreographic like dances like stuff. But I can dance Latino music pretty well. I can move my hips.
Dude,
You know,
you did phenomenal. I am
Yeah.
you
just
didn't.
so happy.
I'm just
to know-
kidding. I'm just kidding.
Oh, dude,
Oh
it was
man.
really hot, man.
Um.
I wasn't
It
ready
was
for that heat.
wonderful.
So
ready for
it's
that.
yeah, I think our last chit chat was in April, right? Well, we released it the first week of May, so that was like the week before. I had a pretty eventful May in a really great, the greatest and positive and most positive way. So how are you guys? What's new in your life? Let's kind of like give our audience a bit of an update on the life of Tony and Desi right now.
Dude, so just real quick at the wedding, I left early, obviously, because you guys both know I have Amaya, my baby girl. So my wife and I went home. But the real secret is why I left so early and I couldn't stay. I was dancing with Amaya and I decided to squat down. It was like right when the dance, it was around like 10:30, so before La Loca, and my pants
Oh
ripped.
my God. Yes.
Yeah. Yep. My pants, and I'm being honest, I was like, fuck, they ripped. And it was like, don't you want to go say bye to them? And I'm like, not really.
Butt cheeks of steel.
My butt cheeks are out. And like I had to stand against the wall and everything to that. And I was like, you know what? It's too late. I can't stay any longer. And I didn't bring extra pants. So I'm like, oh, this isn't gonna happen. But I bent down and
you just gotta like embrace it, you know? Like I went to a wedding in Mexico one time and the groom, he like his pants broke and he did not give one crap. He's like, I'm gonna roll with this.
yeah,
Granted,
that's
like it's
the
not like you could have
groom.
left.
It's your
Yeah.
wedding.
Pretty sure
like,
my pants split at my wedding too. Dude, it's the squats, man.
Well, my pants were tight. I couldn't get down. And like
what do you
and
mean? I saw you do
and
the whatever it's called.
I had planned to bring an extra pair of pants just because I knew that was a possibility. So, but I didn't, gladfully, and
The
thankfully.
limbo. Mother effer, I saw you do the limbo. What do you mean you couldn't get low? I saw you down there, bro.
Yeah,
neck was
but
touching the back of the floor.
Things were like the scenes were just about to like rip apart. Like it was just so like it was scary, but it was so fun. But yeah, so great stuff. It was great to have you guys in there. Desi made the trek for the day, so that was something.
Dude,
that
it was quite the day.
We're pretty thankful for. So
Yeah.
so it's exciting, man. So.
Dude,
Cool.
we were sitting outside the venue waiting for it to start, and Desi's like, dude, the wedding's not for an hour. I was like, no, the wedding's set at this time. And we look it up, and it was literally an hour later. I'm like, oh, all right, I guess we're going to go to a cocktail bar and have a drink while we wait. Because I was super
It
early.
was actually at 5:30, no 4:30, because you would have like cooked yourselves in that wedding. It was hot. But yeah, it was a good time.
It was a great time, man.
Like one of my best days. So yeah. So excited to have you guys in here. I figure we kind of like jump off this conversation to talk about Cristiano Ronaldo. I don't know if you guys saw anything on this. I actually wrote a note of this. Do you know why, Desi?
You talking about the Cokes?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's making headlines, and I'm sure like Tony saw that and he's like, yes,
hydrate or dihydrate, baby.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say it in Portuguese, but in Spanish,
How would you?
Hidratar o dehidratar.
Yeah, well, he speaks like Spanish most of the time because I think he spent so much time in Spain. But it's not well, let's just kind of like give a quick thing of how it happened. In fact, I'm gonna try to see if I can find a video so we can kind of like show it on here. But essentially what happened is that Cristiano Ronaldo was doing a press conference after one of his games, and there were two Cokes or like bottles of Coke on top of on there on the screen, and we know that that's product placement. So Coke is paying money so they can kind of have their products displayed. So Cristiano Ronaldo comes in, he sits down, he looks at it, and he just grabs him, takes him out of the screen, grabs the water, and he just looks up and just like agua, so like he just kind of says something like that. And turns out that little thing that he did not knowing what to expect of it, actually cost a market value fall of Coca-Cola down by $4 billion.
What?
So imagine like you doing
Hey,
this
all that
thing that
money.
lasted for like it was like 5 seconds, and it literally turns into your company losing $4 million in market value. So of course it was it just kind of speaks to like, and obviously I want to bring it up because like obviously there's a nutrition like really good aspect of it, but at the same time it's more about like the power of that can people may have, and literally being able to influence, right? Like decisions that people make, people will stop buying like something as a result. I thought it was great. Some people, like if you see like the comment section, some of like this like forums are like, yeah, like Coca-Cola also sells water. They also have like millions of employees that may actually lose their jobs because of that. But then obviously other kinds of people talking on the other side is like, yeah, do you know how much like the cost of obesity is like on a yearly basis? Because like obviously the overconsumption of like sugar and all these different things like that. So I figured that would probably be a pretty good starting kind of conversation here because it's trending right now. And I figure like it would be kind of like helpful to kind of go through that process. So yeah, what's your thought? What are your thoughts on that?
Dude, branding is power, man. Yeah, the fact I remember I saw him do it, and I was like, all right, dude, hydrate or dihydrate. Shout out TC. But from
Squad.
a squad, no. From a performance standpoint, like the dude has invested millions on his body. So for me, like the fact that he moved him, like he's an athlete and he's caring for his body and he's investing that much money into his body and into his craft. I mean, I personally don't have an issue with it. I mean, any athlete coming in should have a pretty similar mindset of like, nah, I don't need this. And because he's so big, I mean, that's branding for himself. So like the dude's a genius.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Let me kind of show you guys, like for people watching this on YouTube, the video here, so you guys know what we're talking about. So he just kind of comes in, he sits down, he doesn't say a word, he just grabs the cokes,
Flex.
moves
Take these
them
out of here. I wonder if throughout this whole process he's thinking in his head like Captain Hydrate would be proud.
And then he's just like, these clowns.
Yeah, it's like it's crazy. But yeah, I think has a bigger impact on that. It's not necessarily just about what he thinks. It's more about like how many kids are gonna be drinking more water because of the 1 5-second segment that he did on like, I prefer agua than like Coca-Cola here, which kind of obviously brings a whole kind of controversy around sugar, which is that's obviously what Coca-Cola, it's typically has like more predominance in. But of course Coca-Cola is a company that owns a bunch of different kinds of companies within it, and there's obviously some drinks that like water, like different things like that, they're still gonna be okay. But it was just definitely very controversial, but at the same time it was like, I mean, like that's sometimes you need people like that to be able to kind of generate like change, right? And for a company to lose like that much market value,
that's crazy.
And just because of the fact that just sales maybe drop. I mean, I think that's how companies lose value. Like obviously the demand typically kind of comes down. It's like how much people would stop buying Coke as a result of that, and what would the effect on that would be, right? On, for example, things like calorie consumption. Just it would be really interesting to see, okay, like what's like the correlation that exists between like sales on Coca-Cola and then, for example, seeing like weight loss rates all across the world, right? Because of the fact that, because we're talking about like, let's say like somebody like drinks like 4 Cokes a day. I mean, how many calories is that? Like
150 a can, so 600 calories.
So 600 calories, right? And then like just for somebody just sees that and then automatically stops, like, I'm going to stop buying Coke. I'm going to start buying water. So it's like 600 calories less that they're kind of like less consuming, which sometimes to us like coaches, we talked about, like sometimes it could be just a small change that you're making. So like imagine what the impact that may have long term. I'm curious to see on like, okay, let's look at like weight loss rates in and like soccer fans or something like that, or like let's kind of like figure it out to anybody, because this is making trend lines in ESPN everywhere. So I don't know. I thought it was really really cool. I wanted to like even like make a video more in depth about this, because it's impactful.
But how
Yeah.
do we compare that to someone like LeBron in the United States that's all about pushing Sprite? Right? So
Yeah.
Really, I
it
didn't know
goes
that.
to,
Mhm.
oh yeah, dude, he's a huge Sprite pusher. And then like there are sports dietitians, one that I can think of off the top of my head, she loves talking about how she likes the flat Coke during her bike rides, and she's an endurance athlete, right? So there can be a place for these
Yeah.
products, but for what Cristiano Ronaldo did, like that's a huge step up for athletes taking nutrition by the balls and telling these companies like, hey, I respect my body and I know I need water, not
Mhm.
a soda drink at this moment, and I'm not going to be promoting that. So huge shout out to him for actually doing that and
Yeah.
having the balls to do it, because a lot of athletes wouldn't, because they're worried about how that's going to affect their bottom line.
Yeah, and I think it's like people also looking at some of these influencers or athletes that they look up to so much, and then it's not okay. If they do this, then I'm gonna do it. But then if LeBron drinks Sprite, I'm gonna drink Sprite. But then obviously you're comparing yourself to an athlete that like trains for a living, right? And then you're comparing yourself to somebody that just plays like a 16-year-old kid that just plays like pick up basketball, and he's just like he has like what's it called, like posters of LeBron all over his room, and like he's just like his biggest fan. He wants to do everything that he does, right? So like how does that affect him as maybe not the same caliber of athlete? And then you grow up thinking, okay, like I need to be consuming more of what this guy is doing. So what if LeBron would say is like, hey, I'm gonna stop drinking Sprite, I'm gonna start drinking water, or I'm gonna start drinking like, so that's the thing. Like it's not necessarily the Coke itself or like the soda. It's more about thinking of like what the impact, the context in which like those things are typically kind of placed upon.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So I've watched The Last Dance. So I'm on my fourth time because I'm so interested in like the athlete's mindset behind like just
what is it?
being
The Last
The
Dance
Last
on
Dance
Netflix.
with Michael Jordan.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that. That's on Netflix.
Dude.
Please do, man.
Worth it.
Please do. It's such a great mindset piece too. It's just there's just so much good in it. But they talk about him being larger than life, like be like Mike. He had McDonald's, obviously he had Hanes, and then Gatorade. And as I'm thinking about this, like their whole method, especially in the 90s, was like, this is how you can be like Mike. Like everyone wants to be like Mike. I mean, in this case with Cristiano Ronaldo, like he is probably one of the most prolific athletes in the world. And for him to take that stance, I think is going to be positive, because if you kind of look at the correlation between exercise and nutrition, when people start to be more active, they're going to recognize some of the things that are inhibiting their performance. They're going to start drinking less sodas. They're going to start going to places that they usually frequent that have those like high reward foods. They're going to want to eat some more fruits and vegetables. They're going to want to eat more protein. So like there's a huge correlation. And I think in this case, Andres, I'd be interested to see like what happens with soccer fans. Do they start ditching these added sugar type of beverages for more water? Or are they active? Like it's just going to be really interesting.
But I think it's also like, so now let's talk more on the area of influencers, because like just not just athletes, right? It's just in general, anybody that has a big follow.
Yeah.
And a company approaches them and says, I'm going to pay you $2 million just to put your stuff in for you to promote it in 3 TikToks that you're going to be doing, or 3 videos, right? So like that is like where does your moral compass like stands there to be able to do that. So right now, let's say like you're an influencer, Desi, you have like 50 million followers, like super successful, like nutrition author, whatever, and there's a company that comes to you and they say, let's just talk about obviously maybe like I don't know, like a candy bar or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like, hey, Desi, we love your audience. Like you're kind of like really kind of talking to the people that we want to sell to. We're going to pay you $2 million to do a campaign for like a year on this.
Mm-hmm.
You absolutely hate the product. You're like, you don't promote it to people, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they're giving you $2 million for it. What do you do?
Man, that's really hard. Like The only correlation that I can bring to that is like, I did something with a yogurt company that is classically higher in added sugar, and like my thought process behind it was like, you know, having worked in the community sector, and with lower socioeconomic families, like my thing was like, hey, like this is a really great way for them to get calcium. This is a really great way for them to get protein. And so for me, like that's kind of how I looked at it. So I was okay with it and being very clear about the messaging with like, hey, for lower socioeconomic families, lower income families, families of color, these are some things that you can utilize for your kids. Now, like if it was a candy bar, like
Oh,
don't
let's
know, man,
actually
like,
maybe change it. Let's just say like the flat tummy detox tea.
oh no,
$2 million.
no. Can't do it, man.
Okay.
Can't do
That's
it.
obviously, but that obviously kind of speaks. What about you, Tony? You'd be like,
Absolutely
I'm
not.
in there.
Zero. No
Dude,
way. The reason is I've been approached by supplement companies and they want me to promote their product. And I said, are you third party certified? And they said, yeah, we're third party certified. I'm like, oh, by who? And I asked them, is it NSF or Informed Choice? No, our own company. Like, and I'm just
We're
like,
a private investigator.
nah, dude, that's not like, because if my values and what I preach to my audience is NSF and Informed Choice, and I automatically promote a supplement that is not of the two, then I've lost all my credibility, not only to my audience, but to myself. Right. So if it was a product, so for example, I don't know, like I'm really big on dairy because I actually drink dairy. Right. Like the supplement's the only one that like coming to mind because a lot of people ask me about supplements, and if this company's like, oh, put it in your profile on your story, I'm like, I can't. You're not third party certified by NSF or Informed Choice. And I've been like, I'll write blog posts for them and talk about supplements, but I'm not going to say go out and get this X supplement because it's not third party certified. Right.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
for me, it's a big no. It's got to align with me. So if something like what Dezi said, like with the yogurts, yeah, it's good if you have like calcium and other things that you're looking at. Like if it actually has something that you would be willing to promote and actually consume, fine. But if it's something you don't do at all and it's against your values, then no. I affirm no. I've already been offered a small opportunity like that. It's just like, I'm not going to do it. If freaking Body Armor came to me like, Tony, you are hydrate and dihydrate king, I want you to promote that. I'll be like, are you going to add more sodium to your product or not? No, we're going to keep it the same because we use all these other teams that use it. And I'm like, see you later, loser. Like, it's just not worth it for me because I tell people, like, no offense, if Body Armor has a product that comes out and they finally include more sodium than potassium, great on them. They've listened to a sports dietitian. They've actually looked at the research. But up until that point, I will not be speaking about them, promoting them. I don't care what they paid me. Because it's again.
So you will walk out on $2 million to promote like Body Armor.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'll cry. But no.
You got to say no, man.
How about how about you give me $2 million to educate people on like what to put on? Yeah, I mean, it's just like it's definitely. But I think that's what a lot of these influencers like they run into. Yeah. I mean, I think in TikTok the biggest trends right now are this little like app stimulator that like now I see a lot of like people like using the apple cider vinegar gummies. That's
the gummies
one they called I think Golly or something.
Goalies, yeah.
You've heard of him?
Yeah, they got some CrossFit athletes that promote it too, and I'm like, God
losers.
Man. Like for real, like dude, please
go do a legless rope.
Yeah, they're called Golly. Yeah, so they're called Golly, and then like I mean, dude, these are like we're talking about. These are like 3 bottles for $60, right? Like if you want to like, and literally all they have is it's just apple cider vinegar in the form of a gummy. So like, what does like an apple cider vinegar bottle cost? I mean, I think people could benefit from making that, but just obviously,
the Bragg one is like, I would say like $4 or $5,
right?
It's the Bragg's is like the full bottle is like $13, but that shit will last you for like a year because who drinks that stuff like multiple times a day or even
a lot of people who are stupid.
Yeah, well, but still, like even like if you go to like the actual like Costco, you can get like the full gallon for $24. So what? Like,
what?
That's what I should have got you for your wedding gift.
Apple cider
a gallon showed up to the wedding. Who wants to do shots of ACV, baby?
I mean,
that's so 2019, 2021, baby. ACV shots. Try to stay healthy up in here.
But it's so. But that's the thing. Like, but again, but now it's obviously the whole point of like, what if you're just not an expert and then like, okay, you're offered these things. Like, I mean, you're gonna do it. Like, I think most people are simply going to do this. Like, you want me to talk about this candy bar, or you want me to talk about this like thing that I absolutely would not ever take myself? Sure, like give me the
Yeah.
money. But that just kind of speaks to the whole point of like, people's moral compasses, which, it's, well, like, I'm trying to make a living. Like, this is how I make a living. There was a time where like I used to work a lot with this influencer from Brazil. Her name is like Bella Falcone, and
Mhm.
like her account became just like a full like sponsor driven account. Like everything she posted, granted, it was like stuff that she believed in, but then there were other things that were kind of like questionable. But she was being charged. She was charging $10,000 a post, right? So like that's the thing. Like, you're not thinking too much about like the
It's
impact that
crazy
could
money.
make.
God.
Right? It's crazy money. Like, literally, they're
Yeah.
telling you to go in, make a picture, post it, and cha-ching, you're cashing in $10,000 just simply because you did that. And that's what a
She
lot
the
of
one that had that
influencers.
fat burner?
Huh?
Is she the one
That
that
was
had that
Sasha
fat
Fitness.
burner?
Well, her
Okay.
husband had, or still has, because they're in Orlando, they have like a supplement like distributor. But I think she was trying to come up with like some sort of like, yeah, like a supplement brand or something like that. And I mean, she's a great person. Don't get me wrong, but it was just more about like, sometimes what she like, what people may kind of be like promoting, and obviously from the consumer side, which is most people listening to this podcast, is, I was having this is so interesting. So I was having a conversation with one of my clients yesterday, 2 months into the program, and he bought Sleepy. It's called. He gets bombarded with ads, right? And he tells me, dude, I fall for ads all the time. So it was like Sleepy fat burning pill or something like that.
Oh,
I
perfect,
don't remember
dude.
what it was
Those
called. I'm actually
totally don't
afraid.
work.
Huh?
Those totally don't
Sleepy
work.
fat burning pill. I wonder what
It
their
was like
claim is.
something like
Cocaine?
that. So sleep.
So you actually don't
burn
sleep?
fat pills.
Sleep
And
is for the weak anyways.
so yeah. So it's called Slim Sleep. So that's what it is. The bottle
by
costs
Eminem?
$70, and then like this is what's in it. Just kind of like speaking of like specific kind of like supplements and stuff
Oh
like
my
that.
God.
So like
Gosh dang it, you
Slim,
guys. We should
so
just be supplement
and
proprietors.
then I when I'm talking to him, I'm like, okay, like let's evaluate and let's review this, like what's inside of it. So when I look at the ingredients, like obviously the first thing is like, okay, it's a complex, so there's like no explanation of how much of each thing is in here. But to be honest,
and
there
then
are parts of it
melatonin,
in here.
nothing.
Yeah, but there are parts in here that, okay, like it makes sense. Like, I do recommend ashwagandha. It's a type, it's a good
Yep.
Yeah.
type, all these different things like that. But the reality is like, yeah, like this is all fluff. We don't even know how much melatonin like you're consuming.
Mhm.
Like we like from some of the research that some of these guys on sleep research, like Matthew Walker has been doing. He recommends like if you're gonna take melatonin, first of all, not becoming like obsessive with it, and then at the
Yep.
same time, he doesn't recommend having more than 2 to 3 like milligrams. There's a 764 milligrams of this complex here.
Yeah.
How much is on each individual thing? So I'm like going through this process, but it's just a reality. Like when you see this, like, and he literally is like, dude, like I saw that ad and I was like, sleep better and lose fat. Hell yeah. Like I'm going to get that, right? It doesn't matter the cost.
God.
But it's so many consumers that are like that. And it's like, hey man, like I totally get that because you're not educated. So I'll give you the best example on how like
There's a better one than that?
No, it's not an example on nutrition. I'm going to remake an example of how ads get me, right? And maybe perhaps for you guys is different. So I started playing golf last year, right? Now I get bombarded with ads about golf every single time.
What a guy.
Ask me how many of those
I
things
know, right?
I actually have bought because of an ad.
How
And
many?
Ask me
How many?
how helpful some of those like gadgets that I have bought, and it's freaking expensive because anything golf is at least $100. So like so ads get me because I'm like, I have a problem. I'm a shitty golfer and I'm trying to become a good one because I just something that I'm
Dude,
interested in
that's
doing
how the
right
sport
now.
gets you, man. It's
So,
hard, dude.
so ads typically they're kind of like getting into that problem area that you're struggling. So what do? Like we
Mhm.
are dealing with people that have a very deep problem in their weight loss and so much more frustration around that. I mean, what are some like the typical things you hear from some of the people that you talk to on discovery calls? It's, I'm lack of confidence. I don't want to like, I don't want to go to social events because like, I don't want to wear specific clothes. I've been wearing baggy clothes for like the past like 6 months after the pandemic because I'm just afraid to show myself out. And somebody comes and says, and I've been struggling with sleep because I have my kids are kind of making me crazy. And somebody comes like, boom, I have the solution for you. I came up with a pill. It's called Sleep, where you're going to be doing two things. You're going to be improving your sleep and you're going to be improving, obviously, your body composition by losing body fat. How does that sound? $70 and we're going to get you to do that. Wouldn't you buy it if you have no idea what nutrition is and you're so desperate to kind of change those things? Of course you would, because you have absolutely no education on really what that is. Now, of course, we look at it and we're like, perhaps maybe like a professional golfer would look at some of this stuff and we're like, this is so stupid. Like, that's such a waste of money. Don't buy that. Right. So that's like the kind of thing that a lot of times like we don't see it, because from our perception and from our perspective is like, why would you do that? But then what if we put ourselves in this people's like that are seen through some of these ads in their shoes and figure out exactly what's kind of going through their mind in that moment. And this is the same kind of narrative that we need to kind of start to think about when we look at influencers that are promoting products that are helping them, are providing a solution for people that are desperate. I mean, imagine like an influencer that is like, like ripped body and everything. It's like, hey, take this apple cider vinegar, you're going to get abs like this. How many guys are not going to be into that?
I mean, it happens all the time, right?
Yeah. Right. So
wasn't there the 10-minute TikTok? I think you showed me. It's like you lay this way for 10 minutes and you'll get abs. If you lay like this 10 minutes a day, so they put like a towel under their lower back, and it's like, huh? What? That is not the secret. As much as dude, when I get on a call with my clients, they're like, oh, how do I lose this belly fat? And I'm like, if I had that answer, if I had that supplement, as much as I love my clients, I would not be on this phone call with you. I'd be on an island sipping pina coladas. I'm sorry. If we knew what I tell them that all the time. I'm blunt with my clients. Like, I love them. I love working with them. I'm like, look, if I knew how to do just that, like spot reduce, if that even existed, if there was a supplement, I'd be on an island sipping a pina colada, not talking to you. As much as I love them,
there are people sipping pina coladas in islands by selling something that doesn't
by doing that.
Well, damn it.
That is just
time to break my values.
And again, but that's obviously what we're like, these are just business driven people that are just trying to come up with something that like, they don't care. Like the other example, and then like, my good friend, which he's written a bunch of like keto books. His name is Ryan Lowry. Like he talks about this stuff all the time. Like in Shark Tank, there was like these people that came with these pills and they were like keto pills, but apparently they actually never showed up to Shark Tank. They just made it seem like it was. I don't know the whole story behind it, but like exogenous ketones have been something that have like making headlines for the past couple of years as a way to kind of enter into a state of ketosis. And obviously now there is a pill that you could take instead of a powder. Like obviously this is what they were promoting. And they started this massive campaign. I was even getting text messages from them. I have no idea how they got my number, but I started getting like text from them. I even made a TikTok, like I think it was like 8 months ago about this, which it was like getting messages like lose 25 pounds with these pills as seen on Shark Tank. Right. Like, or invested by Shark Tank or whatever. And it was a big scam. Like it was obviously not people like, again, like this is not even actually it was a real product, but it was obviously nothing. We don't even know what it was inside of that. But obviously Ryan like went in to talk about like, this is not really like the dosage and all these different things like that. This is the biggest scam. You're not going to lose like the 20 pounds, but how much money people actually spend. Like here's the best example. I'm not gonna say any names, but like I jump on a call with a person who was struggling with some of the issues as far as like like trying to kind of get better. It wasn't a person with like a weight problem, it's just somebody trying to kind of get from really fit to fitter and like lean to leanest. But she's been kind of like struggling with a lot of energy issues, and she's like, I just can't do coaching right now, maybe a little bit too much. We kind of started deeper into certain things. She's like, I just wish I had not spent $350 on exogenous ketones that I just bought a couple days ago. And I'm like, so you're desperate somebody came to you and said like, hey, take this supplement, you're gonna feel like a complete different person. Like, I promise you that, like, you're going to completely change the way you're gonna feel. Like, money stops becoming a problem at that point.
Yeah.
Nobody bats an eye if the marketing and the promise, it's so deep into your problems. You're gonna be like, I'll pay the money for whatever is it that is going to help me solve this problem. But then we come in and we're like, we're gonna help you build a lifestyle, and we're gonna like, help you like, eat healthy and balance, and like, it's gonna take a while, but it's going to be great. And they're like, no, peace out, dude. I'm not in it for that. Right. And
Yeah.
the worst part of it too, it's like they keep doing it and they know it's like, it's insanity, right? But it's the same thing that maybe perhaps we do on all the kinds of things in our lives, right? You still keep buying like, shitty gadgets for golf, even though it has improved your golf game in like God knows how long, right? So like, maybe it's time for you to go to a coach and go and get classes, right? Instead of you trying to kind of figure stuff out on your own. So it's the same example. And that's exactly what I did. Like, I don't buy gadgets anymore. I pay like a coach a lot of money so he can kind of teach me how to like swing a golf club.
There you go, my guy.
I didn't know that. That's dope.
Yeah.
But that's a reality, and I think like we are living in like a society like that is just industrialized, like, very capitalist like society where, it's about selling my product, and it's like, very competitive. And this is I think it's a $72 billion industry, weight loss. Right? So
a little chump change.
Yeah. So let me ask you guys, like, you were kind of going back on that and what you talked about, from what I heard is like just being value based. I mean, all three of us are obviously that. I mean, why did you all want to become dietitians? Like, why is that a value of yours? Because I think that might answer for a lot of the listeners right now, like why you see quality people not wanting to promote or get behind things that they're not based off of science. They don't work. Right. And so like, I mean, why'd you guys become dietitians?
Well, I mean, I wanted to be a doctor, but I realized that was more that was more like, treating the cause, not preventing it. Right. So like for me, I realized like, I want to provide quality of life to people. I want to make sure that they live better, longer, and happier. So like, I figured like the best way to do that. And at some point it was more like, I wasn't into sports. So for me, it was like, okay, I want to work with athletes so they can kind of feel that they can literally kind of like do anything in their sport and be better and better and better every time. But I realized after working with athletes and not working with as many athletes anymore, that I realized that people could have that same mentality in their life. Like, I want to be the best. I want to perform at the best that I can perform. So,
absolutely.
And that's obviously where people are like, not liking. If life was a sport, so many people are underperforming in that sport. It's ridiculous.
100%.
Right? And
drop that in the comments.
Honestly, like yesterday, I dropped like in one of our group calls 3 analogies that were like mic dropping like back to back within 60 seconds, and I was like, booyah, there you go. But like, I just came up with that. But if life was a sport,
what a guy.
dollar bills, y'all.
Yeah, like you better quote me on that when you tell it to your clients.
I'm going to.
I always quote the hydrate or dihydrate, even though I don't know if that was like originally. I don't know if that's originally from you, because like I think I don't know, like it just came like I don't know, but I do quote you on that. But yeah, like that's the kind of like the way I kind of see it. Like, if life was a sport, like there's so many people that are just simply underperforming on a daily basis and they don't really do anything to change that. Right. So I think it's a mindset shift around that, to say like, okay, what do you need to do so you can become the best? And actually like, there's a video I watched the other day. I think Noah Olsen, he's a CrossFitter, shared of a coach. I think it's like some university talking to the football team. I don't remember exactly what he said. So like, do you see it?
I didn't see it.
It's all about winning. Like winning doesn't care what you do. If you're sick, if you're the best.
Yep.
Winning doesn't care.
Yeah, winning doesn't care. But then he mentioned like, but the one thing that you can do is like make a choice, like whether you like keep trying and move forward, and the people that just simply say like they're not gonna do anything about it, right? So that's like it kind of like resonated a lot with me, because it's like people are just so complacent by underperforming in everything that they do, that they know they could be better, they just don't know how. But then at the same time, they keep kind of trying to find shortcuts to try to figure out if there's a way that they can make it to the top a lot quicker when that doesn't exist. That's like kind of like, you know, like back to golf. It's like, you know, I'm starting off, so I'm trying to make it to the PGA Tour, right?
Say golf one more time, bro. See what
I know,
happens.
right?
That's my passion right now. So like, leave me alone, bro. It's my hobby. Right? Or let's just kind of like bring it to maybe like
No,
baseball.
dude. You can
Since
say
you're
golf.
from
I'm messing
Dominican
with you,
Republic.
bro.
That's like
Go
trying,
ahead.
like that's like Tony's saying right now. He's going to try to make it to the big leagues playing baseball. Like, you know, because he's like taking a couple different pills. I mean, granted, there's
There are some.
there are some like injections that some people can make, they can take for like, but stronger, but that's not gonna actually.
Hey, no, we're not talking about that. We're not talking about that.
Oh, I thought we were talking about underconsumption of calories and something.
Yeah,
no, but let's just be honest. Like, you know, in sports, like
Yeah.
strength is not gonna give you strength. Doesn't give you talent. Strength just kind of gives you
Mhm.
strength, right? So
Yeah,
like that's a big thing. But like that's just kind of the reality behind that, you know. So
Well,
that's why I became a dietitian. So
even going back to that, what did your, and I always love this, Andres, what did your college professor, I think it was at UCF, tell you if you wanted to make money as a dietitian? What do you have to do?
Oh yeah.
it was my biochemistry teacher, and it's actually in Venezuela. That was like the first class I've ever taken.
No
Yeah,
way.
and she said her name is like Claire. I still remember it like it was yesterday. So she said, there's a couple ways that you guys can make a lot of money as a dietitian. Or actually, she said like no. I think she said what she kind of like meant was like, I think there's like one way you can be a millionaire as a dietitian. And that's not usually why people kind of join in this career, because this is a career of passion. And that one way is like you'll come up with a very fancy diet, somebody that is like something that is like never been quote unquote tried. You market it really well, you put a lot of money into it, and then you sell it as like the best thing. This is exactly what you need to do to be successful. And I promise you'll make $1 million doing that. So that obviously stuck with me, because like when you start to look at every single diet that now exists, it's they took a concept and they turned it into something, and they commercialized it in one way. So paleo, somebody said, okay, we need to maybe eat like people back in caveman time, like how they ate. Let me write a book about this. Let me do some research, and I'm going to write a book about it. So now it became like one of the biggest trends. Right. The same thing with like, you know, anything like, you know, you talk about like
South Beach, Atkins,
all those different things. Atkins, like it's all like a concept that they put it into a name, and then they started selling us like, you know, do this and you're going to see results. And people obviously achieve results. Otherwise like these companies wouldn't be successful. But it's more about the constant. So what do I teach? I teach the same concepts that paleo teaches: eat more vegetables, eat more fruits, like, you know, like lean meats and all that. I teach some of the same concepts that, you know, that some other different kinds of like diets and stuff like that do, but we don't kind of put a label to it. And I think that's like the biggest thing. And because we don't put a label to it, obviously we don't make as much money. Right. So I think that is like the problem that a lot of times exists with some of this stuff. It's like, and I think I gave a presentation once. It's like, okay, let's actually come up with like $1 million diet. And it's like, okay, so I know, for example, like insects now are like a big trend now, like insect protein, like, you know, what's it called?
Cicadas.
What is it?
The cicadas.
I thought it was crickets.
It's cricket.
Oh, it's both. I guess they're
like,
they're
but like
both
let's
in the
say
same
like
family,
let's say like cricket protein, right? So like, okay, like the cricket diet, and the cricket diet says that if you eat like crickets for like, you know, and you include this like cricket powder, like for like, you know, after your lunch and dinner, you're guaranteed to be losing about like 5 pounds a week. Right. And there's obviously some research in this, some Asian populations that ate a lot of crickets, and it's been shown that these people actually lived longer, and they were actually they have very low obesity rates. So like that seems pretty convincing, right? So I can come in and say like it's like the cricket diet, and people will do whatever it is that they have to do to be able to make that happen. You're talking about like, so you tell me there's a diet where you eat insects and you're going to lose weight. Like it sounds like crazy, but then be like, but I'm going to lose 5 pounds a week. Yes. Sign me up. Right.
Yeah.
So that's a problem with those kind of commercialized, like, kind of movements and different things like that happens. It's like it's a movement. That's really how you
Yeah.
can kind of like make it like, if you can sell that to 1,000 people, then you'll be a millionaire.
And then on top of that too, like I had to contribute to a Men's Health article about the cicadas, and it's pretty comparable to like 100 grams
Say
of chicken.
cicada
100
one more
grams,
time.
and then 100 grams to cicadas. But then it talked about like the environmental impact of eating
cicadas.
bugs, of cicadas, of eating cicadas, versus like animals. And so like if you can package that, man, like, and this is why those people are billionaires, and we're sitting here trying to bust our ass, trying to educate the public on sustainable lifestyle practices. And it's not sexy. Like I
Because
can
it's not
acknowledge that.
sexy.
Right. And at the same time, like I always tell people, like, look, you didn't just wake up one day totally uncomfortable with your body, totally disconnected from your habits, really hating just who you are. Like that didn't happen in one day. Like there were little decisions that you made over the past months, years. Like this is going to take some time. I don't know if it's going to be a total mirrored image of like, hey, like it took you 6 months to get, it's going to take you 6 months to get out. Like, no, this is going to take time. Like this is a holistic look at how you interact with stress, feelings, everything else. And so it's just not sexy, man. I wish that it was, but I'm here for it.
Yeah.
All we can do is be our sexy selves and talk about golf and cicadas.
Cicadas.
Go cicadas. Not
Sorry.
cicadas.
Cicadas.
But
I apologize to the cicada community.
I think that's like, that's just like the reality of that. And it's unfortunate, but it's
You're gonna get another email.
It's the world that we live in. So a lot of times that we have to, as coaches, like sell what is it, like, one coach that we all worked with, like he mentioned, like you have to kind of sell them what they want, but give them what they need. So maybe a lot of times that's kind of like what it is. Like, hey, you're going to like, feel great in the first like week of doing this program. So perhaps we're not kind of selling like what they want to hear, though. It's like, okay, you're going to lose 5 pounds in the first week. Like I would not ethically will ever do that. But I would say like imagine if you completely can change the way you feel over the, in the first like 30 days of obviously kind of like your program, like you're going to have more energy to play with your kids and to those different things like that. Perhaps that's something that we, and as coaches, that because that's exactly what they're going to do when you start eating better, right? You're going to start feeling better. So it's like going back to that underperformance. It's you're going to perform better every single thing that you do daily by just simply changing things into the way that you kind of carry yourself.
Yep.
So
all right. So what was the analogy again? Repeat it, because I'm gonna bite the shit out of that.
But I haven't used it yet, so that's.
I'm posting it right now, right after this call. Like
you didn't give me a TM or a trademark.
Contact my lawyer. I'm gonna
like
trademark this. Life is like a sport in which most people are underperforming because they're just not feeling their body to where they need it to be. Like I can make adjustments to it. I think it's like it can be.
I'll make my own adjustments. Thank you.
No, thank you. We took your idea. We're gonna make it our own. Hashtag
Dezi's going live right now.
We're playing the game of we're playing the game of life, right? Like do you want to win at the game of life, or you want to not win? And sounds like right now like you're not winning, buddy. That could be a pretty good style conversation.
Yeah.
Oh man, but yeah, that's interesting. This conversation took really an interesting turn.
Yeah.
So
cicadas,
man.
Golf,
cicadas, and Cristiano Ronaldo. That's kind of where it all started. So I'm gonna go ahead and go buy my Slim Sleep. No, I'm just kidding. Supplement. I just still have it pulled up on my screen. I was like kind of looking through. It's like high cortisol
ACV
levels, like
gummies,
metabolism, like
all the good stuff, right?
The other one is the coffees. That's a new MLM that I've been seeing.
My
like
God.
the freaking coffee. The coffees. These 7. Yeah, they're coffees. These 7 coffees will make you burn more fat, lose 20 pounds right away, and it's like, my God.
Coffee. Yeah, it's just caffeine.
Yeah.
I can't believe how much people have spent like caffeine like to make products that are like fat burners, and people still don't get it. That's exactly what that's all it is. Like talk about like obviously like competition within just one ingredient, caffeine. Like it's the same thing. Like burn fat, like caffeine. Green tea extra, caffeine. Like caffeine. Just so much stuff. Like get it, like just whatever. Anyways, Well, guys, it's been a pleasure as always. We're gonna try to do this for people listening in. We do chit chats usually once a month, so make sure that you stay on the lookout for that. Very conversational, and we're just kind of like chit chatting about anything that's been kind of going on in our lives. So if you enjoyed this episode, make sure you send us a quick message. And just to remind you guys, like Tony and Dezi are both coaches, so of course all your information for them are going to be down in the show notes, so you can reach out. Desi is also an author, so if you want to buy his book, it's also shameless plug down there. He's actually kind of showing it on the screen, and it's called the Lose Your Gut Guide, by Dezi Abeyta, available on Amazon. So make sure you check that out. But he takes clients as coaches, as a coach, and also the same thing for Tony. So make sure you guys check us out, and down in the links or down in the show notes, you'll be able to see and find all those links. Boys, it's been a pleasure. Anything else to share or add?
Congratulations, buddy.
I have one thing I'd like to share. If life was a sport, a lot of people are underperforming.
Oh my God, Tony! Like that's amazing.
By Andres Ayesta.
Author, unknown.
Author, Tibetan
Anonymous.
monk in the 1700s.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Sorry. I only get the stuff from reliable sources, straight from the source.
All right, that's the cue to actually stop this recording. Thank you guys so much for being here today. I'll see you guys in the next one.